as realtors, we have many stories over the years. We could spend hours, and maybe sometime we will, telling the different stories about clients, lenders, other realtors, etc., etc. We are going to jump into a little segment now, which we call Coconut Joe. Stories from the trenches of interesting things realtors do, the good, the bad, well, and I'm going to say it, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the inspiring, or the Oops Chronicles, behind the blunders. Scott, you have a good one you wanted to share with us today for our Coconut Joe segment.
Yeah, I came across, I'm actually seeing a lot more of this right now, and it's concerning, but I came across one where a realtor from Kauai got a listing at Turtle Bay on the North Shore here on Oahu. And we're talking about two different islands now. And I'm always of the belief that you stay in your lane. I know Oahu very well, but I have to put in a tremendous amount of work to stay up on the market, keep my finger on the pulse of the market here on Oahu. And I would even argue, when I lived on the Big Island, I lived on the west side, I would sell on the west side. There was no way I was going to sell on the east side. I don't know that market. So anyway, this realtor took a listing at Turtle Bay on the North Shore of Oahu here of like over $2 million listing, but didn't have access to the Oahu MLS and put it in the Kauai MLS and took that listing. And the problem is if you go to do a search for that listing, it does not show up on the Oahu MLS, which is where everybody's going to be searching.
Because that's where the house is. That's where the property is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not going to go to the Kauai MLS to search for a property on Oahu. Doesn't make sense. So,
yet, if I can interject, I mean, realtors have the ability to join any and all of the MLS if they want
to. Yeah, we're licensed across the state. We can technically sell across the state.
Right. So the thing would be, if you're going to take a listing like that, would obviously have access. Because I'm going to ask the question, but I know the answer. Who is it a disservice to?
Yeah, so that's
the seller, but all the consumers too who are looking for properties.
And that's where it's really interesting, because we actually have a separate MLS per island, right? And so Oahu has its own MLS, Kauai has its own MLS, and in order for me, if I were to sell a property in Kauai, I would realistically need to join the Kauai MLS, pay my dues so that I could upload that property there. Well, this agent didn't even do that. They just uploaded on the Kauai MLS, and the seller's not even going to realize the problem there, because they will show them, hey, here's the link. Your property's live. It's on the market. It's showing on the internet, but it's not showing where it should be. And so the concern, the scariness of that is, first of all, I argue, if you're a consumer and you're hiring someone, I recommend people hire someone that lives and works in that specific area. And I don't mean just Oahu. I mean, hire a North Shore agent for that property on Oahu who knows the intimate details of what's going on and what's changing and what's going on with that association. Is there a sewer project coming up? What are the impacts from the community, et cetera, et cetera? They have their finger on the pulse of that thing. They're going to know things you as the consumer are not going to know. Somebody on another island has no idea who the relationship players with the realtors are in the market, who the home inspectors are. What happens when somebody goes to show the property and they either leave the door unlocked, they lose the key, or they leave the lights on, or they leave a door open and the AC running? How does that person ever even know about it, and how does that get corrected? Right?
Yeah.
And so
it's surprising. I will say this again. I'm going to compare it to our island here. There is a lot more agents who will work further out from their main areas, only because there's low inventory. So if somebody comes, say somebody on the east side knows somebody who lives in the area I live, Waikoloa, they know somebody and they say, hey, I want to list my house in Waikoloa, and they're talking to a Hilo agent on the east side. Well, that happens. You see it more often, but our MLS is still one MLS. Although distance-wise, size-wise, it might as well be two different islands. I agree. I mean, there is an area of expertise, and if you want to jump into one of the markets here, then you can, but you ought to be ready to really do your research so that you are an akamai agent and you can, help that seller and or buyer as much as possible.
Yeah, so part of the moral of this story to me is interview when you interview your agents, you should be hiring. I highly recommend you hire the person that's, for one, on the island that the property is on, two, is in the area that the property is on, three, the agent specializes in the type of property you're looking at selling. They have the knowledge, the experience, the expertise, the connections, the track record, etc., in that area, because those people are going to get you the most amount of money and the highest net. This person that did this on another island and listed it here just caused that seller a significant amount of money because there are hardly any buyers that realize that property is on the market at that point.
Got it. Yeah. So
That's a big debt.
oh, no question. So the concept of Coconut Joe, would that be the guy that walks under the tree and the coconut falls and hits him in the head and he kind of loses his bearings, so to speak?
Could
But
be.
but you used the word when we chatted beforehand that some of these agents, yeah, they're getting desperate, and that's just low inventory doesn't just hurt buyers. I mean, there's agents who obviously, when there's less to sell, there's going to be less agents selling things.
I saw three agents in the last 3 days taking listings on outer islands from here on Oahu. And so to me, here's my other thought. This is a value thing for me. I don't go out of my expertise because I have a fiduciary responsibility to that client. And I need to be able to get the best for that client. If I'm going into another area because I'm desperate, that's about me. And I'm chasing money at that point. That's
Right.
a bad mix. And that's a red flag to me as a consumer. Be careful of hiring that type of person.
Right. And there's an old saying.
For your best interests or their own.
Yeah, the old saying is, "Do not chase money. Money should chase you." And if you have the expertise, everything else, then it will.
It,
Yeah,
it,
yeah, exactly.